Good morning, friends. Last Sunday, I spent 4 hours on the phone with my buddy Jim, who lives in Arizona. We talked about everything and nothing. We talked about his grandchildren, my garden, a book he's reading, and a movie I just watched. Just like we used to do, sitting on his back porch 30 years ago. Jim and I met in 1976. That's 50 years of friendship, 50 years of changes, moves, job losses, family drama, and health scares, and everything else that life throws at you. And somehow we're still here, still talking, still laughing at each other's terrible jokes. You know, it got me thinking, what makes a friendship last 5 decades? Jim and I started as work friends. We were both young dads, both struggling to figure out our careers and mortgages and how to be good husbands. We had coffee every Tuesday morning before work, complained about our bosses, compared notes on parenting disasters, just had a good time. What made it stick wasn't the big moments. It was the small consistencies. When I moved across town, we kept up the Tuesday morning coffee tradition, just at a different diner. When he changed jobs, we adjusted the time, but kept the day. When life got crazy, we made sure we didn't lose touch completely. I think the secret is that we never tried to be each other's everything. Jim wasn't my only friend, and I wasn't his. But we were each other's constant. The friend you could always count on to answer the phone, to remember your birthday, to ask about your father's health, and actually care about the answer. 50 years is a long time. And we've been through periods where we barely talked, times when life pulled us in completely different directions. When Jim's first marriage ended, he disappeared for almost a year. Didn't return calls, didn't show up to gatherings, just vanished into his own pain. I could have given up, written him off as someone who couldn't handle friendship during the hard times. Instead, I kept reaching out. Not every week, not demanding responses, just staying present. A card on his birthday, a brief phone call every few months, let him know I was still here when he was ready. When he finally called, he said, "Wayne, I don't deserve a friend like you." And I said, "Jim, friendship isn't about deserving, it's about choosing to stay." We've had our disagreements too. Political differences that got heated, different opinions on how to handle our aging parents. A few years where we just rubbed each other the wrong way. But somewhere along the line, we figured out that being the right person wasn't as important as being friends. The friendship I had with Jim is different from the one we had 30 years ago. Deeper. In some ways, less about impressing each other, more about just being real. We can talk about being scared of getting sick, worried about our wives, frustrated at our adult children, and things they say we couldn't say to anybody else. When Jim had his first heart attack 2 years ago, I flew to Arizona to sit with him for a week. Not because he asked, because that's what 50-year friends do. My wife was in the hospital. Jim called every day, not to chat, just to check. That's the payoff of 5 decades of investments. Long friendships require forgiveness. Not the dramatic kind, but the everyday kind. Forgiveness for missed calls, forgotten anniversaries, tactless comments, and the general messiness of being a human for 50 years. They require effort, but not constant effort. Consistency, but not perfection. They require accepting that people change. That Jim I'm friends with now isn't the same person I met in 1976. And that's okay. We grew up together in different directions sometimes, but we never grew apart completely. Having a friend who's known me for 50 years is like having a living memory of who you used to be. Jim remembers me as a young father, as someone who worried about things that seem silly now. I remember him as the guy who helped me move 3 times, and he never complained. There's comfort in being fully known by somebody who chooses to stick around anyways. If you have a long friendship that's worth preserving, don't take it for granted. Make the call, send the text, show up when it matters. And if you're looking for that kind of friendship, start somewhere. Consistently builds trust, and trust builds connections. Next week, we're talking about something I never expected to be doing in my late 60s. Learning completely new things and why it's never too late to surprise yourself. Until then, please call an old friend. Time is the most precious thing we can give each other. Thank you for spending time with me at Coffee with a Senior. I really enjoy having these conversations and hope you do also. Say, please do me a favor. Help the channel by liking and subscribing and share with your friends, even on Facebook. Until next time, friends, choose to be healthy, happy, and home.